Welcome into the SorareData Strategy Show. I am Andrew Laird. You can find me on Sorare as Lairdinho. Joined as always by PSU fans too, Sean Newsham. This week to talk about how we have no more money. No, just kidding. But the ETH crash has been a hot topic this week, Sean. Andy and I touched on it, a little bit on Tuesday during the Sorare Andrew show. The whole conversation seems to be revolving around ETH versus fiat and how you look at cards. Everyone, like every topic, thinks that whatever they think is correct and that nobody else can think another way. You and I tend to think the same way, so we're not here to argue about it. In fact, we have a perfect situation here where we can say our opinion and nobody is going to interrupt what we say. But there are a few things I wanted to touch on first, but the first thing is that I wanted to bring up with you was, has anything like really changed now that ETH is like, I didn't even look at what it was today. It's bordering around $1,000 per one ETH. It was like 3,000 at one point. So is anything like, does your strategy change at all based on the fact that theoretically our cards are both worthless and worth a lot now?
So before we get started with this, I just sent you a picture in Discord. We should have used that as the thumbnail for whenever we talk about fiat. Like we should have just used an actual picture of a fiat, because we talked about fiat versus ETH a lot. We should have just used like a picture of fiat as like a thumbnail. That's what I sent Laird. Like we should really use a picture of a fiat whenever we want to talk about that.
Yeah. Well, that's what our galleries are worth now.
Yep. It went from like a Porsche to like a fiat, but in ETH value went up. So it really depends how you go about the game, which I think, so my issue is people were talking about the in general crypto dying this week and stuff like that, and which is true. Like obviously crypto's gone down a lot this week since I think it started like last Friday when we had the show. Like I think it died like right after that. Maybe we
killed it.
Yeah, apparently we killed it. Maybe it was before, I don't know. But the thing is that Sorare is different than other things out there. It's different than Bored Apes. It's different than stuff like that. What we've seen, and I saw a tweet, you tweeted it, I forget who it was by, but someone basically said that they're like, this is the first time I've deposited into Sorare in like 6 months because ETH is down and I can buy 4 ETH for $5,000 instead of for $20,000. So like people, I saw quite a few tweets and inferences from people that like, hey, we're like, I'm actually investing in the platform. Like I saw like a graph and like a chart that showed every other platform was just down substantially, not even just in fiat, but also in ETH. Whereas Sorare from an ETH perspective has been really, really strong lately. Obviously things have gone down in fiat value. Like things are definitely down in fiat value, but things are up in ETH value. And in the long scheme, if you think ETH is going to get to, let's say, 5,000 a coin, like let's say eventually you think in 2 to 3 years that's going to happen, then the fact that there's a lot of money going into the platform, like there's an actual like a lot of USD currency or euros going into the platform of people buying cards, which is great. So like to me, it's a great indication that people are still interested in the platform and actually like the platform. So they are actually investing in it because they want to play the game. So I think that's what, like I've talked about it before. I think we talked about it, but it's probably been a long time. The way that you need to view Sorare is it is a USD investment and an ETH investment. It's not going to be totally linear. Like you just have to view it as like, I want to either make a lot of ETH or a lot of money. And you have to be okay with either outcome. And then based on where the market is at that time, that's what you end up getting.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm going to respond to that in a second, but thank you to everybody who has joined us live. Looks like Surface Terror Missile got in here first. We've got Jared Jackson, Shakaboom, Hatanas, Mike Baston, Bob Flynn, Levi, Zarky's here. Little Lettuce 21 is a fantastic name. What's up,
Zarky? By the way, Zarky has a mission that he told me he was going to go on for me, but he's failing at it miserably right now. So hopefully he comes through and actually succeeds with his mission.
Wow, throwing him right under the bus to start the show. It's nice.
He told me he was going to get the job done, but he has not gotten the job done yet.
Federico, oh my gosh, Jimmer is here because he took so much punishment last week. What did we say about Jimmer last week?
Last week was our Harvard show.
Yeah, you were less than
See, but the thing is like, so here's the thing, right? Kai sucks. We know he sucks. But Jimmer and Black, they hold him as a meme. Like he's literally a meme. So for them, he's worth an amount because of the meme that's presented. Like
Yes.
that
Agreed.
they're getting their value out of memeing him.
Yeah. So Javier and Glenn here, and then all right. Now that we have established that, thank you guys. If you guys wouldn't mind hitting the like button, if for some reason you're watching, you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. Swiss Mafia coming in as well. So the ETH decline, I feel like everyone is trying to say one thing, and there's like no matter what side you're on, there's always like a point of evidence that shows something else. So everyone was like, the market is totally based on fiat. Everyone thinks in fiat now. And I'm like, well, like you and I think in ETH. So like now everyone thinks in fiat is not right. I think it's absolutely true that more people who play in limiteds think in fiat. And I think the higher you go in terms, or I don't know, is it a lower scarcity, higher scarcity, whatever it is, the more expensive cards you get, people tend to think in ETH. And so I don't think one way is right or wrong. I tweeted something earlier this week that if you only think in fiat, but you hold an ETH balance, then you already need to start thinking about ETH, because as soon as you have ETH, theoretically you're exposed to the market movements that happen with ETH and not just fiat. So, and I had all these people comment back to me. They're like, well, I withdraw my ETH right away and I convert it into fiat. And I was like, all right, that's fine. But like, I don't think most people are doing that. And so they're just kind of like holding ETH, but using this like self spreadsheet tracking fiat, even though like theoretically their fiat is not worth as much as it was when they sold the card. But regardless of that, we're seeing ETH prices rise because fiat is going down, the value of fiat's going down. Prices in fiat are going down a little bit, but it seems like for the premium cards, the ETH prices are rising perfectly fine. And if you're somebody who thinks in ETH, like this is fine. So like I told you, like I've sold like a ton of cards this week, and the way that we always talk about how we're focused on SO5, but this week we were both like, maybe we should trade more, because like the prices that things were selling for looked absurd to us because we think in ETH. And at some point earlier on, you were like, if ETH gets to a certain point, I'm selling my gallery. And we are not there yet, but you had to have been thinking about it recently, no?
I mean, it's a thing for. So I just looked at the graph while you were doing that. So in USD value, my gallery went from like $700,000 to $500,000 in the last week. So that's what I don't know, not even. It's like what a 30% drop, give or take.
Yeah, sure.
So, but my ETH value has probably gone from, it was like 375, it went to 425. So like saw like, let's say a 10 to 15% ETH raise, but a 30% USD drop. But like in reality, like it doesn't matter to me, I guess, in the long term. Like I still think my goal is to like generate as much ETH as possible if I can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you see, like obviously the 1 month average salary from USD perspective has gone way down, but like from an ETH perspective, I've gone way up, and I haven't really done anything. Right. So it's one of those things. Like I don't know, it all just like funnels out over the long run. Like if ETH goes back to 2,500 a coin, my USD value is going to go way up, and my ETH value is going to drop. So it's like one of those things. Like you just have to be okay with either. So like in the long run, like I'm just okay with either, I guess. And like if the platform's successful, then I think it's going to be a realistically good opportunity to do one of the two of them. Which one of the two I can't control, so I'm just okay with it. So Josh makes a good point.
I was going to bring this up, yeah.
Chat, yeah. So like other projects are blockchain products. Sorare is a soccer product that is built on the blockchain. There's a difference. Like that's what the difference is between it. because like people that are here, like the biggest issue for me in terms of like selling the gallery or anything, I really like the platform. I really enjoy SO5. I
Yeah.
really enjoy playing on the platform. So like for me, like selling my gallery would be like, oh, I'm really missing out on being able to play on the platform. So like that for me is a big issue. And then Federico was talking about Kai. Kai as a striker will still be terrible. Like he's just a bad player on the platform with Chelsea, and most likely anyone other than like Bayern. And we went over that last week, so I won't hash it again. But like, if you think Kai can be a good player as a striker, I got some shit in my gallery to sell you for 1 ETH that can't be any worse than what he is.
To get back to this point from Josh, so it works kind of both ways. That everybody, like, NFTs are down now, kind of all over, and I think that that tweet that somebody shared recently, I think it was Max, about how Sorare volume was up versus other NFT projects, kind of goes in the point of like why the biggest complaint that we heard, I guess it was a year ago, or was it 6 months ago? It's everything is a blur. But basically, like when apes were selling for like 500 ETH and crypto punks were going for millions of dollars, and like Sorare didn't see this like gigantic push up, and everyone was like, these are NFTs too. Like, why aren't these growing as fast? I think that was one of the complaints. Was it Zora who said it? Like people who were involved in Sorare and other NFT projects, when the other NFT projects take off, they're kind of like, why is Sorare not taking off?
Correct.
And now when all of the other NFT projects kind of are declining much faster, and Sorare kind of seems to be staying stable in terms of cryptocurrencies and NFTs, like that's the reason. It's a different product. And I was talking to Pap earlier this week about that tweet. And the problem is that like Sorare itself is just a very different game. Like all of those NFT projects have like a specific limited scarcity. And while we have a presumed limited scarcity, the number of players is so high that just like the volume of actual NFTs you can buy is so big. And so like that's why volume is high, because there are just so many more of them.
Here's the thing, right? Like people are just trying to get rich quick. That's what people are trying to do. So like when people are out there buying a freaking rock, they're trying to get rich. Like when they're paying 1.5 million 500 ETH for a rock, they're just trying to get rich. The thing that makes me feel good about Sorare, and again, like has been mentioned, like not saying Sorare hasn't gone down also because of the markets and everything. Like I totally understand that it's gone down too. But the thing that makes me feel good about Sorare is when it went down and like sort of crashed off and like the whole cryptocurrency died over the last week, people have wanted to put money on the platform because of that, so that they can buy cards to play the game. People aren't sitting there lining up to buy a crypto punk because they could get it at 100 ETH for 1.1 per ETH compared to 100 ETH at 2,000 ETH per ETH. They're just not doing that. Whereas like Sorare, like the price went down and people were actively putting money on the platform that wasn't on the platform. So like to me, that's what makes me feel good about Sorare. Like we had the highest ETH volume day in the history of the platform this week. Granted, a lot of it was spurred by Zura selling off the remaining portion of his gallery, but like that was only a chunk.
Yeah, it was like 200. I thought it was around 200 was him.
Yeah, so like that's not. I don't know why that's not updated. Oh, that you were at auction. Yeah, so like
this was like a 1,200. Like it was still 1,000 ETH without Zura.
Exactly, and then we're still looking at like 800. Like it's been consistently around 800 because people have been putting money on the platform to be getting cards. So I think the one thing, and I know you disagree with that, but like I definitely don't think Sorare is going to be thrilled with the thresholds. I don't think they're going to be thrilled with pegging it to ETH if ETH is going to be low. I think that we're going to see a change from that perspective because I don't think they want to be spending, like, I don't think they want to give out that much ETH in the long term if it's going to be like, if we get to like 500 ETH and like the threshold is like what, 0.1, like I just don't think they're going to be comfortable with something like that, even though it's the same fiat value as like what they were giving away originally.
Yeah, so the somebody kind of brought. I'm going to not ignore this point here from Joshua was saying that the increase in threshold payouts helps the ETH price of cards go up because people have more ETH to
It
spend.
does.
So fiat wise, it's the same, but like because there's more ETH now, ETH prices go up,
which is true, and that is
absolutely
that is a good thing.
So what I think is okay with ETH going up is I would like to believe. I don't know if this is the case. I would find it difficult if it wasn't the case, but I believe that Sorare probably has some sort of ETH reserve, and they have a fiat reserve specifically to buy ETH to pay out. So rising ETH is no concern to them, or falling ETH, excuse me, is no concern to them because they are hopefully buying ETH each week in order to pay it out. Like I don't think they're losing money on ETH because they're like using an ETH reserve to pay this out. If they are doing that, I think it's a mistake.
Here's
like,
a good question and a good comment. Like, how do we think they're holding the funds? Because we really don't know the answer to that.
I would like their own balance sheet.
Just in general, like when they bring in, like let's say, like yesterday they made 200 ETH in auction sales. What
are they holding that in ETH?
Are they leaving that in ETH? Are they? I think they're probably doing.
It should be somebody's job to decide.
It is, and
that's
I think
what the CFO's job is.
I think they're. I hope they're better than some of the other people that in terms of their decisions. But like realistically, like I'm thinking that they're like let's say they're probably keeping like 70% USD, 30% ETH or something. Like I don't know. I'm just giving a random number. Like I'm assuming they're keeping some amount in ETH and some amount in USD. And I'm assuming they're doing it that way because like obviously, so from a perspective of the platform, right? They have everything's done in ETH. So like the platform, they have to give stuff out in ETH. But I'm assuming their employees are paying in USD fiat currency. So I'm assuming they're doing like maybe they're keeping like 50% in ETH, 50% in USD, because if they do it like that, like it kind of offsets whatever happens on either side, right? And it protects them the most by doing like 50-50 type of thing. But I have no idea what they're doing. But like I will say that like let's say they made how many people got the threshold this past week?
I haven't pulled that yet.
Because like if you're giving away like let's say 400 ETH in thresholds and prizes, and you're only generating let's say 500 ETH in auction sales, you got a little bit of an issue there. Not saying that's happening, but
I don't that you don't though, because they have they raised all the money that they raised as a private company in a funding round is not in cryptocurrency. Like that's fiat. And so if the amount of money that they made from auctions isn't going to cover threshold, like they can just go out and buy ETH. And this is a great time to buy ETH because it's so low. So like I'm not like concerned at all from that point of view, like at all. And so I don't think falling ETH matters in terms of threshold.
Yeah, and it might not. It really might not. Like it's just it's an interesting concept that we really don't know the answer to, or really have any way to know the answer to exactly how they handle that stuff.
Yeah, we just have to sit here and hope that they are good enough accountants to figure it out.
Which I mean, in theory, they should be. Like, and like you said, like they are making more. Like auctions have been around 200 to 300 ETH a day. So like you're talking, let's say 1,500 ETH a week. They're not giving out 1,500 ETH a week in thresholds, and they actually will give out even less once we eventually get to the point where there's no common goalkeepers. They're going to give out less in thresholds than they were previously.
I mean, we've had international breaks. Like nobody gets. It's literally in the hundreds of people who win thresholds.
I didn't win a threshold last week.
Yeah,
I didn't win one.
Yeah. So anyway, so we talked about how you have looked at this game as like an ETH accumulator, and you feel that you can accumulate more ETH by playing SO5, by getting your rewards and selling them, or selling them to reinvest, or you've reinvested everything. Has the drop in fiat value of ETH made you stop buying cards?
No, not entirely, but what it's made me do is I don't want to put more on the site. I don't want to put more into the platform. I want to now generate what I can at the moment. Not that I won't put more on the site. Like I will. If it's warranted, it will. But like I think what I'm trying to do now is like I will try to use the rewards that I get entirely to generate what I need to buy. Whereas like in the past, if I'm like, I really want this guy, I'm just gonna put 10 ETH on and go get the people I want. Whereas like this time, I'm like, I don't really want to put on this because the ETH number is going to be really high. I would rather just generate because like realistically, a lot of cards you win right now are worth a lot of ETH. Like threshold is like 0.045. Like you get a threshold, you get a couple tier 2s and a tier 1 in a week, you're looking at like 0.8 ETH. Like you're looking at a really solid ETH return from the week. So like the issue is I did not fully get the guys I wanted to prepare me for the European season. As you know, like I was in the process. I definitely got some guys that have gone up a tremendous amount that I'm glad I got in, but there's one rare I still want to get. And then I had planned on, perfect example was yesterday with what happened to Vieira. I need an elite super rare for U23 come the European season, but I did not want to buy one that had a risk behind it, and realistically everyone had a risk behind it, it seemed like. So like I didn't want, like for example, like I looked at Vieira, I looked at Fabio Vieira, who went to Arsenal yesterday and his price plummeted like 40%, and he just like, I mean, he's dead. Like I mean, I don't see how he's a productive player because like I just don't think he's going to start every game, and even if he does, I don't see how he can have the type of scores that he had with Porto, except for the one guy, that the poor fella who put in the massive auction bid 2 days before and got just dumped on while the price dropped like half on him. But like that's why I didn't buy a super, because like I didn't want to spend, like Fabio Vieira before yesterday, his super rare was probably 7 to 8 ETH. Like I don't think you could really get it for under that. So that was 4.6. That was like a month and a half ago. Like I think it was like when the ETH dropped, like I think you're looking at like 6 to 8 ETH card. Like Vieira was legit. Like you could not realistically get a Vieira for under 6 to 8 ETH. Now you could probably get it for like 2.5, 3. I mean, if someone was people that have his super rare might be stubborn, not really willing to sell, but like I wouldn't pay 2.5 for it right now. But so that's the thing, is like I didn't want to I'd rather just pay a lot once and just get the guy that I want once I know what the situations are. Whereas I didn't want to do something like this and then boom, just dead. So I was waiting until probably mid-July, once transfers have sort of shaken out and I could just see who's where and what the situations would look like. But with the ETH price now, like I just don't really think that's a realistic outcome for me from what I have currently on the platform situation. So like I'm probably just gonna have to roll with a lot of the super rares I have. I might still buy one. Like if it's, I think I can. I think with the guys I have, one will at least be good. And with like my realistic lineup is like any goalie, Sutalo or Timber, and then Jota, right? So like I have the rares. I'm good on the rares in my opinion. I feel like I'm solid. I think one of my super rares, at least each week, like I have like 15 or 20 options. Like someone will at least be okay as an option. But I really want that one guy that I can just hang my hat on and be like, this guy's going to give me 60 to 70 every week. And right now, I don't think I have that guy. So that's concerning to me that I might have to go buy that person at a later date. But I'm hoping I can just not do that.
So one of these points before, it came up in chat about 15 minutes ago that I wanted to talk about, was from Football Economist. And he said, people are forgetting the Sorare market's down, as with every other asset in the world right now. ETH and NFTs are related. So even if you think in fiat, when ETH goes down, it's likely cards go down. So we haven't really seen cards, ETH prices go down. Fiat prices have declined. And I'll admit that I don't track every single card on the platform, but the ones that I like tend to pay attention to, we are seeing like significant fiat drops. But the fiat drops are still in a spot where you still have to pay more for ETH. Like I'm not seeing a drop in card prices with like a drop in ETH prices for cards. So even if like the price of cards is going down, like it's going down in fiat, ETH going down, like ETH I feel like is steadying at least near the $1,000 mark. But like I'm just not seeing the fiat drop, the ETH drop that I feel like should be accompanying it if we think like everything's going down. Like it should be down on both at some point if ETH starts to level out. And at least for the for the cards that I've been paying attention to, like I just don't see it. Like as much as people are like ETH doesn't matter, like find me cards of like good players where the ETH prices are going down, and I'll believe you.
Yeah. So Josh asked, he's like, if ETH went to 100 a coin, would there be a mass amount of users leave and hold ETH liquid? No. I think what people would do is people will be like, I'm going to buy 20 ETH for $2,000.
Yes.
And then they inject 20 ETH onto the platform. Like, yes, there's going to be some people like in that situation, like where ETH is $100 and nothing else is on the platform wrong, and it looks like everything's fine eventually, and it'll just be there. Like, I will probably start to take off some ETH as we go. But like, if I win a card, like it could be worth, like if I win a Carlos Gil in that situation, like Carlos Gil could be a 20 ETH card, the rare, right? And like when you look way back in the depths of the platform, like you see guys sold for like 5 ETH for a rare that was like a mediocre card, but like that was like $200. Like they didn't care. So I think will find people that will do that. The issue is obviously like also it looks like we're going to go into a giant global recession. And if we go into a giant global recession, are people going to have money to be spending on JPEGs. Players? But at the same time, every time there's a recession or anything like that, there's still people that have money. Mm-hmm. Like it's not like everybody in the world doesn't have sort of money or funds at that point. So it's a situation like that where I just think that there's a chance to do whatever you want realistically. It's just going to be a matter of if you are investing, if ETH goes to 100 and you invest, let's say $2,000 to get 20 ETH, you have to be fairly certain that ETH is not going to go back up quickly. Because if ETH goes up quickly, you're going to look like an idiot when you lost 20% or like when you lost like 65% of the fiat value on your card because of that. So like you need to be cognizant of the fact that like, but at the same point, like if you just had $2,000 and you just had $2,000 sitting around and then you wanted to get some sort of crypto exposure, like that could be your way to get crypto exposure and you feel better about it, right? And then maybe maybe ETH goes back up to 500 an ETH, and like all of a sudden your 20 ETH card goes for 10 ETH. Well, you still profited there from a fiat perspective, and you still have ETH. You just don't have as much as you would have if you had just sat there and not done anything with it.
It does seem like crazy to me when I hear people say like they had ETH and they're like, I'm just going to buy some cards because that's safer. Like that,
nothing's safe, right? Like nothing you do. Well, like you hold cards, ETH, or USD or something. Like none of it's safe.
Yeah, so like that's ultimately like what worries me. Not worries me, but like the way that like I'm sitting on ETH now because I sold a bunch of cards this week, and I was having this whole conversation with somebody on Twitter about like how he was like nobody would take like a fiat loss for an ETH gain, and it's like I did it a bunch this week. Like I took on some cards like fairly massive fiat losses, theoretical fiat losses because I got an ETH gain. And I got those because they're cards that I like probably that I didn't think I was ever going to sell for that fiat value anyway. But if I can get the ETH value or more than what I had, like I was perfectly content with that because like I believe that ETH will go back up at some point. I don't know when it's going to be. Nobody knows when it's going to be. It could be 6 months. It could be 6 years. But I'd rather the ETH than this card that I think will actually never be worth this ETH again, and it certainly wouldn't be the fiat value. Shout out to Pal Lopez. So, but the whole like I don't want to be exposed to ETH, so I'm going to buy cards. I get that because like we've talked about that. When I talked to Andy on Tuesday about this, like we had a previous show with Evaldo, and he was like, if you're buying cards, like you're much more exposed to the digital card market than you are the Ethereum market. And we're kind of seeing that be the case right now because Ethereum is way down and cards are not way down. But I kind of brought up this point that like buying cards increases the risks as well. And this chart here of Fabio Vieira shows it. That like if you were 2 days ago, you were like, I don't want to hold this much ETH. Let me just get like a nice safe U23 that I think will appreciate. And you bought this card. well, now it's worth like 20% less, and probably not getting any more. Like, I don't think anybody is like looking at these prices and they're like, oh yeah, that's too cheap. Let me go buy more of this likely Arsenal bench warmer for the first year or two.
Yeah.
And so, like, maybe the downside is slightly safer, but like there's still plenty of risks when buying cards. And I just feel like some people are starting to ignore that because they're like, oh, this thing isn't as risky and therefore it must not be risky. But that's like so far from reality.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, like all of it has risks. Like if you're into ETH, like you're risking what the crypto market is. If you get into the cards, you have a combination of both the crypto market and the actual like player market too. So like there's so much risk in terms of like what you're looking at with the players, what you're looking at from your gallery. That's why like I think a lot of things is too, like if you buy the elite level cards, doesn't matter what region. If the cards you get are the elite level pieces, it's generally speaking, they don't go down in both, or like they don't stay stagnant. Like I have seen a lot of cards be stagnant, where like ETH drop or like the price dropped of ETH, but the value in the card hasn't gone up yet. And part of that is like it might eventually, but we looked at Cruise yesterday. Like Cruise Limiteds haven't moved at all. They actually have. So like when Laird and I looked at this yesterday, it was like 0.18. And I actually told Laird to just park a bunch of money on Tony Cruz Limiteds because I thought it was a pretty good spot to just dump some money. So we're looking at Cruz and what's his, can you scroll up Laird and so I can see his ETH value? So like, yeah. So like yesterday when Laird and I talked about it, it was 0.188. Now it's a 0.227. So like it
I bought yesterday at 0.184.
You did. Yeah. So that's literally right when Laird and I talked about it. Because Laird went and bought one. So like, as you see, like if Laird had went and bought 10, like I told him to, he would have jumped and he would have generated about 0.4 ETH worth of value from just buying that card for one day and then selling it. But it's a situation where like there's some cards that have been stagnant that didn't really jump upwards. And they just sort of were like the same, nothing changed. And then there's also the cards like Carlos Gil was going for, that's also my first mention of him in 2 weeks, Mike. So I didn't mention him at all last week, but he went from 2.5 to 3.3 overnight. Like that's pretty similar in fiat value. Like, yes, it's slightly less, but it remained pretty similar. So that's where I think like you can see stuff, but obviously like you see like the Gil has sort of tailed back off a little bit because people haven't done it. Oh, I see there was a trade involving someone that you were talking about earlier today, Laird.
Well, I was going to say like we saw the price dip. Like Chani right now, fiat wise, is like the recent floor here.
No, Chani.
And what did this card go for?
Took him like 3 months to get the card, but he got the job done.
Gomez and Vanderhorn super rares.
See, Laird, and you didn't want to do it.
Yeah, that really would have taken my gallery to the next level.
I don't even know how good Gaston Gomez is. Oh,
he's
good.
He's good.
He's good.
He's also starting because Gabriel Arias is hurt. So
yeah,
I don't know. But anyway, yeah, we're seeing like
wow, he's been smashing. Holy shit.
Yeah, he's very good.
Dude,
well, let me rephrase.
His L4 is 9.
He's a racing goalkeeper. Like if you go back to Arias's scores, like that's what they look like. So, but like we're seeing like at least Carlos Gil fiat prices are going up now. They're still down from 9 days ago, but it's like 10% down from 9 days ago. And I don't know. It seems like those types of cards.
Someone bid on the new auction Mbappe.
What's that?
There was a new auction Mbappe rare today that I don't know if someone had bid on it.
This is a limited that ended 2 hours ago.
No, there's a new rare that's up. I wanted to see if someone bid on it yet because last time someone bid 10.7 never got touched.
It's a 2.1. So it's two days from now. Is that the Sunday?
The other day, a sloth trader just bid 10.78. No one outbid him, and then 2 people bought one for significantly more ETH the day afters. For less ETH though, or for less USD. Like
one of them, the second one was almost the exact price,
exact same amount, but 3 ETH more. Like that to me. So like something like that is a bad deal, right? Like if you didn't want to buy that card at $15,940 2 days before, why would you go and pay 3 ETH more? Like, obviously it's the same USD or fiat currency, like, not arguing, but like, it was a substantial amount more on terms of ETH. Like, you literally paid 2.22 ETH more than you could just pay 2 days before. So like, to me, something like that's like a weird type of deal. But I mean, that's me. Like, I would just sat there and be like, well, I'm not buying this now. And then I would just not have it. Whereas like, he went out and just got the card he wanted. So I can't fault that, but it's just a weird move.
Well, that's kind of the what I wanted to talk about today. Like, that you more so than me, like, honestly, like, you hold a much bigger ETH balance than I do. But like, we're to the point now where like ETH prices are going up because ETH itself versus fiat is going down. And we're getting to the point where like, I want this card, but I'm just not going to pay the current ETH price. And I don't care what the fiat value is. Like, I've had ETH. This is how I look at everything. This is my budget. Like, I'm just not going to buy that card. And that's why I kind of said buying is suspended. Granted, I bought 6 cards yesterday, so ignore me on that. But I actually, let me change that. Because like, well, no, I meant what I said. Like, you and I have, like, we keep lists of cards that we want to buy, that like cards we work towards to get. And based on current ETH prices, like, some of the cards that I want are just too expensive now. Like, I'm not going to pay that price, regardless of what the fiat price is, because whatever the fiat price was when I got this ETH is different than what it is now. So like, it's not even a comparable fiat comparison.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I have my list. The player that I wanted when I set up my list was 2 to 2.5 ETH. Now will cost me 3 to 3. Well, it's going to cost me over 3. It's at least 3.2 to 3.5. So like, since I had the ETH balance, like, it's an ETH balance thing for me. Cause like, I had the ETH balance waiting to get him and just didn't make it happen. So like, it's a situation, like, I will still buy players that I need to buy, because if not buying those players is going to cost me dramatically from an SO5 standpoint, I'm not going to not do it, I think. But I'm definitely not going to buy as many speculative type guys that I would have otherwise.
So it's funny you say that, though, because what I wanted to say was, like, you and I have had ETH on the platform for a while. So somebody's like, well, fiat is the same, like, the fiat price maybe hasn't changed that much, but ETH price has gone up. But like, because we already have ETH on the platform, if we pay more ETH, that means we're paying more fiat too, in terms of like what our ETH was worth.
Yeah.
So like, if a card was 2.5 ETH and now it's 3.25, like, not only does that cost us more ETH, but it's more fiat from when we got that ETH originally. And like, that, I think people ignore.
Yeah. But Josh asked if ETH remains the same price for the next 6 months. I hope ETH remains the same price for 6 months. Stability and it just not really moving would be pretty good, I think. But the thing is, like, here's the thing: you got to adjust with the market. So like, right now, it is dumped off 50% in a week. It could go back up, or it could dump off another 50% next week. Yep. So it's a situation like where, for me, a guy, so like, I have on the platform, let me see, I have around 7 to 7.5 ETH. I've had that balance for a little bit now. It was higher. I bought some cards along the way, obviously, but like, I have 7.5 ETH. I don't really want to put more fiat into the platform, and I don't have more ETH just sitting around idle to go in right now. So do I sit there and not buy anything? No, it's not realistic to not buy anything. But what I want to do is I want to use rewards to generate that type of price for me. Whereas there are people, like a lot of people, so like, I have, since I've been on the platform, have ended up being more ETH driven. And I think, so Laird talked about it earlier, when we talk about, some people are ETH balance, some people are US or fiat driven. So like, realistically, the answer is 90% of people are whatever benefits them most at the time. That's what they are.
Sure.
5% of people are fiat, 5% of people are ETH. The other 90 are whatever benefits them that day is what they So you got to get that out of the way to begin with. But like, so I am in the 5%, in my opinion, at this point. Like, I have been very ETH driven on the platform. My goal was to generate ETH. I know that when ETH is a high price point, I want to buy cards. And when ETH is a low price point, I want to sell cards. That said, you can never do that perfectly. Like if I need to buy a card and ETH is low, I have to go buy a card. If I need to sell a card when ETH is high, then I got to go sell a card. I don't really have the ability not to do it. But what a lot of people are doing right now is they're realizing that they can get some bang for their buck because of ETH prices, and they are going ahead and taking advantage of that, and they're buying ETH. I'm not in that position where I want to do that at this exact moment. But the good news is with people putting money on the platform to buy cards, that means they got to buy cards. So if I'm trying to sell cards, that's a good time for me to sell cards. So like just this past game week, like I had a okay game week this last week of the international break. I won a Nikola Zalewski rare, and I won an Alan Varela rare, and I won a Jean-Luc Dompe limited and a Kim Gyeon Wong limited. And between the four of them, I can probably generate like 0.85 ETH or 0.8 ETH, let's call it. So if I really want to, I'll go sell those cards. That generates me 0.8 ETH. I could go buy a card that I want to use. Or like I said, like we've talked about before, I don't really like selling young players that haven't proven to be bad on the platform. Like I think if you sell young players that aren't proven bad, you're doing things wrong. So like I might not sell these two immediately. I might just sit on them for a little bit. But again, like that's like I've been selling rewards very liberally recently, like except for actually I guess I won an Alexander Schultz rare as well, but he's actually a smasher. Yeah, and my rare defenders are not the most strong. I do have a lot of the Frontail guys, but if Frontail doesn't have a good matchup, it's my options are really limited. So I decided to keep that as well. But like over the last month or the last 2 months, like I've sold a lot of rewards that I brought in to generate to go buy other cards. So like my hope is for if ETH is in this price point, like I was talking to Laird before the show, or maybe it was on the show. Like if you go and you get a threshold, a couple tier 2s and a tier 1 in a week, you're getting close to an ETH out of that. So like, and with my gallery size, that is not unrealistic to hit that type of an outcome on a given weekend. So I think for me, it's like more of a thing. Like I can generate some ETH right now. I want to generate, and then if I have to go buy a player, I will.
Yeah, I think those are all good points. I don't want to ignore that. Like obviously, if you're selling cards now, like you're getting the higher ETH value.
Yeah.
So like what we were kind of talking about in terms of this, like buying is suspended. It's like we don't want to use our ETH balances to buy cards. Like I would be content like selling cards to then buy new ones. I actually think for people who think in ETH now, like trading seems better now than ever because you don't have to like think of like, oh, this card is really expensive. And it's like, well, maybe the card that you're willing to trade has also seen like an absurd ETH rise just because of what ETH itself is doing, that try to make some trades. I say that having rejected a trade literally an hour and a half ago. But I think it's almost for people who think in ETH, because ETH prices are going up, winning rewards is more important than ever, because like that's literally just an opportunity to get a card that you can sell for a near peak price. I mean, we don't know if it'll be, if the peak is going to keep going or not, but it's a really good opportunity right now. I say that looking that Jasper Chillison is now a tier 0 reward, which is just wild. I get why, but man, that's
the gap between Neymar and Rajkovic there is pretty absurd.
Yeah, I mean, usually the first place one is
good, and then the rest of them are not great.
Pretty high.
I mean, I know the Rare Pro. Oh wow, Rare got Neymar this week. That's shocking.
Neymar and then DSC second. Oh, Steve Clark fourth.
A lot of Neymars given out this week, apparently.
Yeah, really.
I know. I know Uba Makano went to first in Rare Pro. Would love that card. That would be a great card.
That's an awesome card.
That's a card I would love to add, but it's not really.
U23 limited was a good old Mbappe. Allen. Oh wow.
There you go. I mean.
Oh wow.
Some big cards that were given out this last week. Oh yeah, that feels good if you win one of those.
Yeah, that's nice. Congratulations to Nanzo. Come on.
Way to go, Nanzo.
Way to go, Nanzo. He needed that one. Anyway, so yeah, I find myself like when I posted a bunch of cards on the market recently, and this is actually something that um, Gator guy put me on, and he was like, "What I do literally every day is I'll look at my gallery and I'll see what I paid for a card, and like right on SorareData, you can see like what the floor is." And he's like, "And if there's any card that like seems like the floor is just like way too high, I'll go to sell. I'll like figure out if I want to sell this card." So like if you just go to your gallery, like this is mine, like this is what I paid for this card, and then this is the floor price, and then you have like the 1 week or 3 day average, whatever the recent average is. And so I, with this ETH like crash, but ETH value of cards going up, I was like, let me try this. And so I started posting a bunch of cards, and I actually had like I have a bunch of like early, or I had like a bunch of early limiteds. Like I have some that are like 11 of 1,000, 15 of 1,000, and they were like cards I didn't necessarily use that much. And so I was like, maybe I'll try to sell some of these cards. And so like I posted a ton of cards that I'm like, these guys, like, yeah, I'll play them in lineups, but like if I'm trying to improve a lineup, like let me just sell these guys now. I'll see if I can like buy back or buy better cards when if ETH drops a little bit. And all of a sudden, like I sold 8 cards in like 12 hours, and cards that like gave me more ETH than I've ever had on the platform. And I took like a fiat loss on some of them, but like all of them were ETH gains. And now I'm like, I don't really necessarily want to spend this ETH on like higher price cards. So now I've actually started, I don't want to call it speculating, but it's probably just that. But like what we were talking earlier, and that we were like, Tony Cruz is getting way too cheap. And I mean, I've heard this in like a number of discords, like different people are like, Tony Cruz is kind of cheap for like what he is. And I think Nellis bought one too. And because he was like, this is too cheap for Tony Cruz. And I love John, but I'm like, it's probably not that cheap. And then I looked, I'm like, oh, it actually, like, he nailed it. John was totally right on this one. And so, love you, John. So so now it was like, should I, like you were saying, like, I should just go out and buy 5 or 10 Tony Cruz limited cards because they're too cheap. So I'm actually, now that I have this like big ETH balance for me, do I start buying cards that I just think should be more expensive, given the fact that like cards that I don't think are that valuable should be? Like I sold Alexander Newell and Sean Johnson each for 0.195. And then I bought Marc-Andre Ter Stegen for 0.21. And it's like the Barcelona goalkeeper, I feel like shouldn't cost the same as the New York City FC goalkeeper. Scores, like Sean Johnson has been awesome. NYC's like arguably the best team in Major League Soccer. Like I get it. But like that looked like an inefficiency to me. And so now I'm starting to wonder if like those are the types of cards I try to buy over the next 2 months while Europe is quiet, and just lose all my ETH that way.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, like when we talk about Cruz, right? Like, I don't think I'm actually going and listing some cards as we're talking.
Yeah, exactly. But like,
but like, it's just, I mean, I more so know what cards I've had. I look through it frequently, and I know what I could sell that is sort of like back end stuff. But like, I have a Carbonero. Like, Carbonero is at 0.65. Like, that's a massive uptick from where he was. Like, when I won him, which was like 3 weeks ago, he was like 0.3. Yeah, like literally was like 0.3. 2 weeks ago.
He was
like,
0.4.
he had a goal. He like scored a goal since then.
Yeah,
like,
is
which
that,
is fine.
I'm
not saying he's bad, because there's not many options
no.
from a U23 summer perspective. And honestly, having him was pretty wow. So here's the thing. Here you go, Laird. You haven't looked at this, I hope. What is Tati's price?
1.6.
0.99.
I think people are scared. That's West
Well,
Ham.
I think people are scared too, but like, this is a guy that was selling for
That's probably a massive
1.3 at points over the last month.
It's probably a massive fiat drop.
Carbonero had a rumor recently too. I saw. I don't follow him closely enough to really know what's going on, but he had a rumor recently as well. Whether or not that'll be good or not, we'll have to wait and see on that. But yeah, it's just like one of those things. Like if I can just sort of sell some stuff that I'm never gonna play, like I'll just use this as an example. Like I have an Eric Bjorkander. Literally don't even know what team he's on. Until I just looked. Like I know what team he's on now, but I didn't know what team he's on before. But like if I can sell that card for, let's say, I don't know, 0.175 ETH, which is probably, I can't sell them for that at this point. But like if I go sell like 10 of those, like boom, that's like 1.7 ETH that I just generated. And that's not the all right. So yeah, Sebastian Pasta says the Carbonero is likely going to racing / jail. Yeah, because I did hear Carbonero did have something about him. It just wasn't as big as what your boy Sebastian V is going through. But there's definitely like, I don't know, there's just some cards that I can sell that like aren't really cards I'll use ever, and they could realistically help me get cards that I will use. So like that's something that is of value to me. But like it's just right now. So like here's the example, right? We talked about Stroikens last week. Like for me to go speculate on Stroikens right now probably is going to cost me to get that super rare. I would guess 0.75 ETH that I paid 0.231 for 2 months ago. Like I'm not going to go pay 0.75 ETH to speculate on something like that right now. I'm just not going to do that. Actually, here's one that I do not think it's the most speculative, but it is still a bit more speculative. I sent an offer out for your boy Lubes last night. Super rare.
Ooh.
But I didn't know, the guy didn't respond, and then I was just like, I don't know if I want to speculate on it. I was offering like a lower.
Why is there speculation? He's going to be the best U23 midfielder this summer.
Fall. If he plays.
Why wouldn't he play?
Who knows? I don't know.
He's a goat, man.
But so anyways, I was like, I was thinking about speculating on him, and then I'm like, I don't know if it's worth it. So I ended up pulling down the offer. To be fair, if the guy messaged me and was like, hey, I'll take that exact number you sent, I would probably be like, all right, I'll do it. But my speculation on him was lower than what like his proper value should be, like 1.5, maybe. And I was offering like 1 because it was a reward that the guy probably doesn't want, and like 1's not unreasonable. But yeah, it's just something like that. Like, I mean, good examples, like, so like I won a Emil Forsberg a month ago. I don't know, like a month ago. And when I won him, he was 0.07 card. Now he's 0.2. So like if I sold him and just sat on the ETH, like I sat in 0.07 ETH, like it would have been worth nothing. Whereas like now if I sell him, I get 0.207. Like that's a bit more, obviously, from a pure ETH perspective, in terms of like what to get out of them. So there's just things like that I'm like, here's a great example, right? And I told you, and you did it, and then you sold them because you just flipped it. But I told you Kim Jin Hyun was just stupid price. His price made no sense based on what you get out of him. Like he's a surefire, no doubt about it starter that you do not have to worry about at all. And what did you pay, Laird? 0.36?
375.
So like hypothetically speaking, like Laird was just going to sit on ETH. Like that would have just remained ETH. So like he turned.
I needed a goalie.
Yeah, and you did need a goalie. Like to be fair, I don't really know why you sold him. Why did you sell him? Did you go get another goalie? I
had Higashiguchi come back and someone else.
Okay, so here's an issue, which guys, we're gonna call Laird a moron here pretty soon. But like he just by storing his value on this guy, he generated 0.2 ETH. So you can do stuff like that, especially at this time, I think. But why didn't you just sell Higuchi?
He wasn't. I couldn't get as much.
You should go look at Higuchi.
Oh my god.
I'm very surprised you didn't do this instead.
Oh, I mean, no. I mean,
it's pretty similar for a guy that has a lot more question marks surrounding him than Kim Jin Hyun on a worse team.
The teams are comparable.
The teams are comparable, but anyways, yeah, I mean that's why this also goes to show why we never sell goalies. Like Higuchi was selling for 0.2 and now he's 0.5. It's just a situation where you just don't sell goalies unless they're starting.
I just don't see a world. I mean, obviously, if ETH goes to 500, then we're there. But like if the floor is 0.62, I don't see anybody paying that or slightly higher. So I don't
agree
put it to somewhere that I actually wanted.
There's not cheaper goalies in America or Asia. Like it just doesn't exist anymore.
Then 0.62 now?
Not really.
What did I get for 5.25?
I mean, yeah, let's go to the market and check it out. But I don't think that there's going to be tons of goalies you can get for that price point that are better than him. Not like saying he's a smasher or anything. I just don't think there's that many goalies.
Well, I think that's it. Like, he's not a smasher, and so there are other guys who are just like fine.
Like, I'm just, who are you going to get?
There's your boy Bobby Shuttlesworth. He'll be fine.
No. I mean, look, Eloy Room was the bottom, and Eloy Room's like 0.589 now.
Yeah,
like that's pretty much the floor of goalies, like 0.6 right now.
0.6, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a lot is 0.605. He'd be fine. Fry is 0.553, man.
Yeah, that like
back yet?
No. Maybe, but I think no. I think he's not back yet.
Yeah, I just look at guys like that all the same. Like Hoyos is 0.55. Like
I'm not arguing that. Yeah, like I think it's totally the same. Like I think you could say Hoyos and him are exactly the same. But like Alex, we're talking about like goalies that you're comfortable to have, not Bono.
No, yeah,
you're not comfortable having Bono.
No, but like the way I looked at it is that he was just a guy that I could play at goalie. Like I was never going to be like really excited one day when he had a good matchup because it's goalie. So if I felt it was a replaceable price, which like we just found 4 guys who were like guys at the same price, like I was fine actually holding the ETH in that situation as opposed to the goalie with the possibility, although that he literally never doesn't play. But like I
think more of the issue is like you don't have tons of goalies, so just selling a goalie doesn't make sense when they're all going up.
No, I have enough now. Like I have more than enough now. That was the thing.
The definition of enough is like you have enough, and then one gets injured, and then you don't have enough.
but now I have the ETH, and I just go buy Hoyos. Like it's fine.
So Raheem just asked about Ultimate Champions NFTs. I'm not gonna say it's scammy or anything. Like I don't know enough about it. My issue with it is looking at it with them doing packs and stuff. I think they're gonna have a lot of issues from a legality standpoint. And I think they'll eventually get shut down because they're just not within legal codes of wherever they're trying to go with, which could be wrong. Like I might not be accurate on that. Like it could end up being totally fine. But like that's why I also find it hard to believe they're going to. Sorare's footprint is really big right now, and like yes, Ultimate Champ's got Arsenal, but nothing else drives home anything there to me. So I just don't really see them getting there. I think them being there as a competitor is good. It forces Sorare to not be bad, but it's hard for me to fully buy in on that. Do you still?
I thought it was too much work.
What?
It's too much work.
Yeah,
like I have no idea how much cards are worth.
Well, my issue is not even that. I just don't think they're going to pass the legality. I have concerns with Sorare from a legality standpoint too in the long term, but like I think Ultimate Champions is like. Doing packs is just not going to fit in with the legality of things, I don't think. So like that's my concern. Do you still have your Lampy or did you sell it?
I have it.
How much is he worth now? By the way, I hate how you do this with public offers. You just get so many of the same goalies. It would be great it'd be great, Laird, if you could filter that and not have duplicates.
They just do the floor price. That's all you need.
Oh, and then you only get that? Oh, that's good then.
Yeah.
So what's Lampy now?
I just saw him. He's probably like 0.5.
I saw one at 0.7. I don't know if that was like the floor of him though.
I just saw him. Come on, Carlos. There he is.
Because I think like
0.52.
0.52. Yeah. I'm surprised you didn't sell him.
They were exactly the same to me, and one of them plays in a region that I pay attention to.
I mean, that's fair. You do not.
I have other Argentina cards that I would play when they're playing together.
That's fair. That's fair.
I don't need Kim Jin Hong when I have nobody else playing.
That makes sense. I mean, that you do not have the Asian cards, so that does make sense that you'd rather have another Argentinian card, especially if like Armani goes off on international duty or something. Like it gives you the ability to still run that line. So yeah, okay, that makes sense. But yeah, floor goalies are way up there. How high do you think floor goalies are going to get?
What's wild is to see Zach McMath at 0.596.
He's been good, to be fair.
He's been great.
To be fair, I think he could be higher. He's been really good. He has no competition because it seems very clear Ochoa is done.
Yep.
It seems very clear that Ochoa is gone. So like you can't really ask for much more. You have a decently aged goalie that's been really good that has no competition. Like that's pretty nice. No, I mean, I think in these regions though, you really do see like there is not a gap between goalies. Like the gap is like 0.6 to 1.2. Like that's the entire range of
the entire range of starters.
Whereas like in Champ Europe, you have like 0.6 to like 5.
4. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever Donnarumma is now.
Right.
Not even the starting goalie type guy.
I was thinking of Allison, but
yeah,
that's kind of a scarcity.
For those, listen, Laird and I were laughing yesterday. So Florian Wirtz had a auction go yesterday. Blown away by the price of Florian Wirtz on auction. Like this dude's out till probably at least January, and he auctioned for 4.5 yesterday, and his floor was like 5.5. So like my two most valuable rares in my entire gallery are Wirtz and Donnarumma, two guys you like can't even use right now, which I found absolutely ridiculous.
Like that's the difference right there. 4 days went from 2.7 to 4.4.
Yep, exactly, which is crazy.
Did he like come back? Did we miss that he is in full? That he's?
I don't think so. So here's the thing. Like I tried to get his forward card last year. I don't know if I want the forward anymore. I think I might want the midfielder. Because
it's funny you say that, because somebody, I forget who it was, wanted to trade the forward card for a midfield card, and I remember being like, no, the forward card is better. Who was it?
It was Nellis.
Yeah, exactly. And he was like, no, because he had Gakpo and someone else really good, like another great forward. And he was
last year, my forward situation was literally Carlson. It was Jesper Carlson. Luckily, he didn't get injured, and it was Jesper Carlson all year, and that was my like rare forward that I was able to play. So it was basically like Anthony had a really good matchup, or Carlson had a good matchup, and then depending how I wanted to run my lineup, I'd run the one of them in U23 Rare Pro. So, but this year, so I still have Carlson, who does look like he will likely stay, knock on wood. And then I have Jota. So like hypothetically speaking, I feel a lot more comfortable with my U23 rare forwards right now. Whereas like my U23 rare mids, I don't even know who my best one is. Like I'm curious who my best U23 rare mid is. Because outside, so like
you didn't buy Lubes, so it can't be him.
Is who?
I said you didn't buy Lubes.
I didn't buy Lubes. Like I wasn't going to buy the rare of Lubes anyways. You know me, Laird. I got to get the super rare in.
Sure, of course.
Let's see. My best rare U23 midfielder going into this season. I don't think Gavi's that good. Ferran Torres, I don't think is that good. I have his midfield card, not his forward card. Let's see. I'm just scrolling down my roster values. I don't think that's
Enzo.
Yeah, well, I have Enzo, but Enzo, I'm not really counting Enzo per se. So, like, if we let's keep going past Enzo and let's look through this list. Maybe Kenneth Taylor, but he's like a big question mark.
Yeah,
Kenneth Taylor's a huge question mark.
Sure,
Kenneth Taylor could be great or terrible. Keep scrolling.
Yeah, a bunch of these guys are aging out anyway.
Yeah, I'm just seeing if I have anyone that I think is a guy other than Enzo. I obviously think fits that bill, but like I'm trying to see if I have anyone else. And like as you can see, this list isn't that strong. Like Yari has a chance to be decent. Tejan could be okay.
Depending you got Durkin, you're fine.
What?
You got Chris Durkin, you're fine.
I got a lot of Durkins, man. I got a lot of Durkins.
You do have a lot of Durkin.
I got so many Durkins that I can't use. It's great. So you have Wirtz. Yeah, so like as you see by this display, my U23 rare mid is non-existent.
Yeah.
At all. So like I really need a rare mid, and if Wirtz comes back, because Wirtz is a guy that like his forward card and his mid were both really good cards. Like it didn't really matter which one you had. It was more of a where the guy fit than anything. So Zarkipu says treat yourself to a Jedson. Laird does not like Jedson as much anymore. He was talking negatively about Jedson yesterday. Not saying I agree or disagree, but Laird, why don't you talk about Jedson?
The thing that I mentioned about Jedson is that the sample size is too small. and like he's being priced like he is a top 3 midfielder, U23 midfielder, and we're pricing that based off of what is this? Basically 10 games. 1, 2, 3, 4,
Well,
5,
he had the
6,
sample the
8,
year
9,
before
10.
Fenerbahce.
So it's 10 recent games, and then Sean was like, no, but he's done it twice.
Yeah,
He's smashed twice, and it's like, well, I guess, but twice now within, I mean, 2 years, 2 completely separate years. I don't know. I'm just saying, like, I think there's a lot more speculation in that price than people think there is.
I think it's okay at this point. Like, I don't think it's bad. I just think there's my issue with like midfielder, like U23 midfielder this year is like it's like Veerman, who like you're comfortable with, and then it's like I don't know. Like I really don't know like who else would you hang your hat on like today, Laird, as like a U23 midfielder?
Well, I mean, we talked about this. That I thought that I named Jedson in my top 3 when Harry Trades asked recently, and then I tried to walk it back. I think Pedri's in the list, and you gave me shit yesterday for not owning a Pedri.
Yeah, I don't know why you don't own a Pedri limited with what you were saying about Pedri.
Yeah. I know. I think that's fair.
Sort L40 Laird. Driving me nuts.
If I do L40, then Jedson falls too much.
Well, I'm not even worried about Jedson. I'm just like, who are you hanging your hat on in this position right now? Kaku, apparently he might stay now, but his rumors are bad. If he leaves, I just don't like where he goes. Enzo, obviously, his rumors are Benfica, and that's pretty much it. Love him. I think I love him no matter what, but I think if he goes, might be an issue.
I think Quinny's got it here.
No, I don't disagree with Vinny Souza. I mean, Vinny Souza has been fantastic. It depends where it goes. So
I was going to say, he is turning into like what we were saying about Tati a month ago. We were like, every rumor is awesome. It was like Celtic, PSV, Bruges. What was the other one?
Genk.
I didn't think Celtic, it was
Genk. Ajax has been rumored to him today.
My God.
No, like here's the funny thing. The funny thing is I don't even know if like Celtic or Ajax are the best for him because I don't think his path to starting is as clear as like if he goes to PSV or Benfica or something.
You think
like,
Kenneth Taylor starts over Vinny Souza?
I don't think they're the same position. Like he's more of like an Edson role in that situation.
Okay.
So like all right, so Zemansky, like I don't like where his rumors are. Veerman, obviously Veerman's fine, but Veerman ages out after this upcoming season. So like that is a knock to him.
It's not enough. I mean,
it is and isn't. Like it is because like you want more than a year, but it isn't because like all you really care about is the year.
Yeah, I think Veerman has and it's to a much lesser degree specifically because of this year thing. But he has that little bit of like safety that we know with Van de Voort because like he just got there. Like he's not leaving now.
I heard he had a rumor the other day, but I don't think it was serious or anything.
Seems crazy for him to leave literally after 6 months.
I would agree. So Sangare ages out. Jedson, we've just talked about. Tanaka. I actually think Barco is an okay shout, which you and I talked about because we don't really like Barco, but he's pretty good on a team you really like, and he just got there, so he's not going to leave. And so I think he makes sense. I don't think Turnbull makes sense because I don't know if he starts.
Somebody brought him up in one of the comments from our video last week that
if he was a starter, not even a question, that would if he was like locked in starter, I would have a Turnbull so fast.
Yeah,
he has rumors to leave, but even if he doesn't, their lineup could very well be Hatate, McGregor, and O'Reilly instead of Turnbull, which then you're spending 2 ETH on a guy you can't even play frequently.
Right.
Bruno ages. Pedri. So you said Pedri. I buy that. I buy the Pedri hype from you. My issue is that like I got to go pay 4 ETH for Pedri. That's a lot. Yeah. So like I don't really know about Pedri. Georgie was the next person on the list. He's America, so we're not going to count that. Lewis Ferguson, I believe, has rumors. I haven't heard exactly where he would go. Otherwise, he would probably be a pretty realistic shout. But that's a difficult one. So then we keep scrolling. Like Tchouameni's not. You don't want him right now. Wendell ages. Vieira died yesterday. Dreyer ages. Pedro ages. Bellingham, I think, is another realistic option. that makes sense. But like, so, but the problem is, all these guys we're talking about, they're all Champ EU guys that are really impressive. Josh talks about Odegaard. I don't see it with Odegaard. He's just not good enough, I don't think, to be someone that stands out. Zarky brought up Morrow Jr. I do think Morrow Jr. is an option. The issue is I'm a little concerned about the amount of spikes he would have. Granted, you do see that he did have some spikes there, but he's someone that's a realistic option, I believe, that can go out there and put up some good games for you. I believe he had some rumors of leaving, though, as well, which is obviously concerning. That's not what you want.
No.
But he's someone. I love Almada. I just obviously American.
Yep.
Declan Rice would be fine. But like, we're so far down this list, right? Like, we're like 40, 50 people down. We're like at 55 average players. And then there's obviously Vinny Souza. The person I have that I'm praying to God goes to Zenit is Glebov. Glebov is like my only freaking hope, and he was so bad at the end of last year. But this is a guy that has shown to be relatively solid on a relatively terrible team, that if he goes to Zenit and sort of gets plugged into Zenit and they just hold possession and he can be better than what he was at Rostov, he's my prayer, someone that could be productive. Someone mentioned Zakarian. I do think Zakarian's a good option.
Me too.
I don't love the exposure to the Russian league is my issue. Like, I would rather have my guys. What?
Your midweek is dead.
Your midweek is dead. You're also just not. There's just a lot of concerns around the Russian league, just all around, right? Like, it's just you're concerned.
This is
your boy Eric Martel. Where did Martel go?
Nowhere yet.
Where was the rumor? I remember there was a rumor.
Rangers.
Yeah, that'd be good. If he went there and played, that'd be obviously great. But so yeah, like, this is the problem, right? Like, we're talking forward. If we go to forward, there's quite a few people I could hang my hat on, even if they're expensive. But like defenders, there's guys I could hang my hat on right now as well. Like, you're looking at Mbappe, obviously. Like, I think Jota's someone you can put your hat on. I think Maleka could have a really good year. I think Carlson probably stays. Some of these other guys that are cheaper, like Vinny Jr. is still a really good option to get, in my opinion. Zion can be solid. I think Zion likely takes a step up and improves where he goes. Like, Anthony could stay. Like, he hasn't left yet, and that was someone that I thought had a possibility to stay for another year. Talis Magno, I think, is a great option. I really would love to get one. The issue is he just doesn't have enough.
You got to win.
He needs to get to a point where his price comes out. I'm not paying 2.5 for Talis Magno. But like, so like, at least there's some options at forward that I'm like, yeah, this works. Like Jesus Ferreira, he'll leave after this season. I don't know where he's going to go. Mitsuda's been really solid. So like, there's options at forward, right? Midfield's just like, oh my God, who's staying, who's not staying? Like, what am I going to do? And it worries me tremendously at that position.
Yeah, it makes sense. What's funny is
what's your U23 look like for the European season? The thing is that so here's a thing that I struggle with to remember, and I know you do as well to some extent. The American and Asian seasons do not end middle of July. Like, you still have till mid-October with those. So like, when I'm complaining about this situation that I'm talking about right now, right? I have an Enzo Fernandez, hypothetically, if he stays through, I don't know.
World Cup. You got into the World Cup.
The World Cup. And then I have Pablo Ruiz until the World Cup. So like, I have options America and Asia run. I just, once Europe starts, I have some glaring holes. Yeah. My gallery is still at the best when when everything's running. My gallery is at its best because I have enough marquee cards in every region that when everything's running, my teams are really, really good in the key spots. Obviously, some other spots are not as good. But when everything's not running, I am relatively thin in a lot of areas.
Yeah, I'm definitely thinner than I should be, but I have some like decent midfielders. It's really defenders are like okay, other than Korean Timber, who hopefully is coming back soon.
I saw someone said he might be back this week.
This week, yeah.
Which would be great because I didn't play him, but like, I would love to see him back because he's definitely a potential game changer when they have good matchups.
Yeah, no, agree. I mean, I basically like they're fine. It's fine. Alvarez dies, but I have Carlson. I'm hoping Francisco Gonzalez turns into Jesus Ferreira from last year at least.
Yeah, don't you wish you bought Zaballos?
What's that?
Oh, you said Zaballos was already up.
Yes, he was way up, like even when I was looking. He looks legit though. But this is really the guy that I think needs to step up for Lairdinho FC.
So that's part of my thought process too with my U23 forwards. He has the potential to be good.
Yeah.
He has the potential to be pretty good if he gets the right move. And what you and I have talked about, every move is good. Every move.
Literally anything.
So like I definitely think that there's a potential. Has there been any rumors recently with him?
I haven't seen a single thing.
Because I think that he is for me also, because like hypothetically, if he moves and goes somewhere good, I have two of them. So not only can I use one and play one, I can sell one, which could be like a 3-4 ETH card if it's the right situation. Yeah, Quinny's obsessed with Ferran Torres right now.
He is.
He's been obsessed with him. I think so. My issue is I have a Ferran Torres midfielder, which I just don't know if that gets the job done. Whereas like the forward card, I think you can play. I think the midfield card's a bit trickier.
Yeah, I believe that. What let me just see where João Felix is.
Shawnee doesn't think Joao goes anywhere. Shawnee, that's not very nice. I mean, it's fitting though if he just rots there, because like that loser team deserves him for being a loser for deciding to go there. So like they deserve to just rot together.
Does he have
I
two
hope
more
they can
years
get
left?
relegated. Like I wish Atletico Madrid could just get relegated to never in my viewpoint.
I think his best season will be as soon as he's not U23 anymore.
Probably. I mean, that's the thing too, is like he still has 2 seasons of U23 eligibility left.
Yeah.
That's tremendous for a guy. Like he's been around forever already.
And 5 seasons left on his Atletico Madrid contract.
I know. I think so much.
3 more years. Or 4 more years. 3 more years. Yeah. Ugh. Whatever. I think once we get to João Felix is when we cut ourselves off here.
It's usually when we win the shows, right?
Yeah, that's it. So, Johnny, please, no more kind words about João Felix. It's just going to bring me down for how good he is. Mike Basson says João Felix to Inter on loan.
Fine, I'll just continue my. Actually, so here's the thing. So we'll talk about that real quick. My Inter stack, right? That could no longer exist. Pretty exciting for me in terms of Skriniar, because I saw a rumor the number for him going to PSG was 70 million. I can't see how he doesn't start if they pay 70 million for him to go there. I mean, it's PSG, like they could definitely not start.
They could definitely do that. They have a goalkeeper that they paid quite a bit for.
Yeah,
that they don't
but
play.
Skriniar at PSG, that could be a really good card, especially considering I already have a Donnarumma. Yeah. I think I would definitely go buy Neymar in that situation, and I probably would no longer exist in the parameters of a Inter Milan stack. I would now have a PSG stack. But I think that like Skriniar could be really, really good at PSG. I think.
I agree.
I like Skriniar. I've always been a Skriniar homer. He's only 27.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Actually, I think he's 26. No, he's 27. But I really like Skriniar. He's just someone I think is actually really good. The issue is he just looks weird. Like he looks weird. So like I think that like knocks him, because people just
knocks him a little bit.
This guy looks funky.
Not fair. Not fair. All right. On that note, thank you to everybody who has joined us live. Actually, looks like we had more people today than maybe we've ever had. So with all of you watching right now, if you could just hit the like button below, that would be very appreciated. As always, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do as well. Anybody listening to the audio version, hopefully we were able to explain enough of what was on the screen that you followed along well. Those of you who listen on Spotify, there's video available on there. It's one of those things I probably should have said at the beginning. So anytime you like hear something, you're like, I wonder what they're looking at on Spotify, you can actually just pull your phone up and look. So thank you again. I'll be back next week, early next week with Andy for Sorare Andrews. Sean's off next week, so we're looking for somebody who wants to jump in. Sean, I put this on Andy last time. Who should fill your spot next week?
I don't know. You usually get Quinny. You just do Quinny. You should get Harry. Harry hasn't been on one.
Harry was on with me and Andy. Thank you for watching. And
I mean, he should be on like the strategy session. Although sometimes Harry does some baffling stuff. So you can ask him. Like he messaged me last night, and he like is playing a dude who might not even play in his like most important lineup. I'm like, why are you doing that? No.
Perfect for the strategy show then. But anyway, thank you everybody.
Yeah, so Mike said this, we can talk about that real quick. I only said one moron today, and it was directed towards you. So like, I mean, we don't have to worry about anything. But so for
I believe I weaseled myself out of that one too.
No, I don't. But yeah, so with that in mind, Laird we've been talking about calling people morons, and I have a act to do sometime whenever someone complains about me using moron too much. The Laird knows, and I'll have to do it one time on the show, and Laird can agree. It would be hilarious to see.
We'll cross that bridge when we get there. Anyway, thank you everyone. We'll see you.